Welcome to the virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Hey everybody, how are you? It's 5:03 on a Sunday. Whoop! That means it's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Sorry we weren't here last week. We're just gonna go ahead and say hashtag blame Suzette for that, because that's what it was. My fault. But yeah, it's July 18th. It's a Sunday. It's 5:03, and welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show, the only show hosted by perfect cleavage today. I'm gonna hear it from Chelsea, but like this is great. This is the best I can do. So. Let's get into the show. A great show ahead. So I'm not going to take a bunch of time with these non-monologue jokes and really just news. Last week 2 weeks ago was phenomenal monologue. This week is just news, really. Pennsylvania pizzeria owner Pauline Bauer, that's a tongue twister, was arrested and charged in connection with the January 6th Capitol terrorist attacks. She demanded the removal of any and all defense attorneys on her behalf, idiot, arguing that she is a divine entity immune from the court's laws, crazy ass, according to prosecutors. That's all according to prosecutors, except my interjections. Bauer can be heard saying on body camera footage from the inside the Capitol Rotunda, "Bring Nancy Pelosi out here right now. We want to hang that fucking bitch." Lunatic. Now, in a series of bizarre court filings made last month, Bauer is insisting on representing herself, dum-dum, and claiming to have special legal privileges as a self-governed individual. "I do not stand under the law," Bauer said, according to the outlet. "Under Genesis 1, God gave man dominion over the law." This bitch is pulling up nativity charts and paternity charts and saying that she was here before the country and so the country can't govern her. What an idiot. Anyway, that's cool, said Judge Mary McMillan, but you're going to be going to man's jail under your crazy ass until your crazy ass can stand trial. And then just a hunch, you'll go back to man's jail because, I don't know, you're a crazy white lady terrorist. That was my attempt at a joke. Thomas and Dawn Munn of Borger, Texas, and their 3 children, Christy, Joshua, and Kaylee, were charged with illegally entering the Capitol and engaging in disorderly conduct. Several married couples have been among the 532 people accused of joining in the Capitol siege. There are examples of an adult and a child entering the Capitol, but in this latest case, it involves almost an entire family. An entire idiot family. 3,000 pairs of fake eyelashes were seized Tuesday at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport. The lashes had not been approved or signed off by the FDA. That's 6,000 lashes. In related news, New Orleans drag queen Fifi La Bonrue was arrested on Wednesday for attempting to break into a police storage unit. Anyhow, here's the show today. I have 3 amazing comedians. They all happen to be women. They all happen to be moms. But that's not how I'm going to introduce them, because I don't bring people up when I host a comedy show and say this next comic is a woman, because that's dumb. These next comics and guests on my show are amazing comedians, and I'm so lucky to have them all here at once. So please join me in welcoming Chelsea Bearce, Jeanette Marin, and Aivy Cordova.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, I wasn't sure I was supposed to talk.
I was like, what's happening? There's no one's talking.
Okay,
Any and all pre-show music compliments go to Jesse. So.
Oh, yeah. It was good. We love Jesse at Stab. Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
Hey.
How are you guys doing?
Tired. Hungover. I'm very hungover. I had a wine-filled night last night.
No, Jeanette mixed. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Jeanette mixed. And we're old enough to know better.
Like a rookie.
But we're also the kind of comics where when we don't have our kid, we're like, hey, woo! Like, sure, we know better, but it's like, this is way more fun, though. Let's see what happens.
Well, when you don't want the party to stop and your bottle of wine is empty, what is a girl to do? Right?
Get another bottle of wine. You don't.
I got the whiskey out. Shut up.
Oh, that's
You mixed wine and whiskey?
Thank you.
Sure did.
Oh.
My brain is going to explode today, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh.
There, yeah,
hurt just thinking
I
about
may
that.
I may have been standing next to someone who peed on the street earlier. So at least you're not
I
there.
did that last night.
Oh, okay.
I 100% did that last night. I had to go so bad, and I was like, well, I guess the door of my car is going to become my stall.
Oh, okay, so you knew it was this lady didn't know it was coming.
Oh.
Yeah, she just peed through her pants. And I was like, oh, that's gross. And I'm in heels and a short dress. I'm going to walk away.
Oh. The terror.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
hey,
missed you guys at brunch. It was lit.
What? Sorry.
I said I missed you at brunch. It was lit.
Oh, yeah. We were supposed to go to brunch today. Sorry, Suzette.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We do it every Sunday. And it's an amazing show. Chelsea
We'll do
can
it
attest.
soon, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have you as soon as you guys can make it. So I have all three of you here. And you're all amazing comedians. You're all moms. On the show before, we've talked about performer entitlement. We can do that. We can do like new performer entitlement, where new performers are like, I've been open micing for 6 months. When do I get to host a show? And it's like, oh, slow down, young blood.
I don't know. I'm going to stop you there because I actually think that entitlement is a problem regardless of how long you've been in comedy.
Okay.
I think that is 100% true. Because it doesn't matter, like, sure, having TV credits, sure, having, competitions or festivals or awards or whatever will give you clout. That's fine. But I still don't feel like it should give you entitlement. Like, I just recently started my Benicia show back up again. Okay, my Benicia show, Jeanette and Ivy were both on the very first show. And it was a raging success. It was a huge success, which I did not see coming. But I got people messaging me once they saw the flyer, just saying, I'd like to headline for you. Let me know when you have a date.
I remember that.
Right. And I'm like, that's not how this works. No, thank you, sir. I don't know who you are. You never even asked. It was just pure entitlement. Yeah. So I think we should definitely, before we delve into this question too deep, is the entitlement, regardless of how long you've been into it, is an issue that should be discussed.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of backtrack. Someone wants to do your show in Benicia. What's the right way of asking?
Shoot me a DM. And say, I see that you're producing this show, and then give me who you are. Tell me who you are. I've been doing comedy how long? Where have you been doing comedy? Who have you been doing comedy with? Send me a clip. And then it's not, even then, even if I do all those steps, I never ask for a headliner position. Yeah. I would, if I really wanted to, I would come down to the location itself and support the show and introduce myself in person, and then go from there. Maybe ask for a guest spot. Maybe ask for a 10-minute opener, like blah, 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 blah. Like, I'll take the spots that nobody wants. Sure. If you think that you're a good enough comic for a headline, great. Then ask them for an opener 10 spot and then bury the whole show. They'll learn real quick. And then you have made a name for yourself, but you don't go in with the entitlement that will turn somebody off from you. Now I don't want to book this person ever.
I agree.
I was in comedy years and years ago, and I stopped for 10 years. And I came back, and I had to break back into the groups. I had to get through the cliques again and introduce myself all over like I was a little baby comic. And I never was like, oh, I deserve a spot because I had these previous years. But on the flip side, I also thought it was quite bullshit that people were like, oh, you're new. And they would completely dismiss me as if you're just this many years in, then you can't be funny. Like, why don't you judge based on the talent and the jokes and the audience laughing and not how many years I've been doing it and if it passes the threshold that you think make someone funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we know plenty of people who have been doing it for 25 years. I've never laughed at. So
Right.
Yep.
it just depends. I think the whole time, somebody once said, oh, it takes 10 years to be a good comic. And people have put that in their head as if the first 9 years is worthless and doesn't count. And that's just crap.
I feel like it does take 10 years to find your true comedic voice.
Sure.
You know, because I think that's true. But I mean, it's definitely not a science. Some people, you know, are naturally funny and but after 10 years, I feel like something does click where it's like, oh, wait, oh, I can do that. Oh, I like the way that I do that. And like your comedic voice starts to emerge, I feel like after 10 years. But I don't think that, like, yeah, if you put it like a label on it where people are like, it has to be 10 years, then it's like gross. Then you'll open mic it for 9.5 and then be like, soon headlining.
Like I'm ready.
Like,
that's not how it works, you know?
So how did it work for you, Ivy?
So for me, I was also similar to Jeanette. Like I started comedy actually back in 2006. And then I left after 3 years to be a mom, get my shit together because I was doing also a lot of fuck shit back then. And so when I came back, like I knew I wasn't just gonna hit up people and be like, hey, remember me? Just like Jeanette, I had to go back and I had to go do the work and I had to just build my way up from, where I had started. Like the two people that kept in touch with me the entire time, I did hit them up. And I did this not expecting them to give me any kind of sets. It was just more like, hey, I'm back in this thing. Who do I talk to? Like, where are the mics? Shit like that. Because I knew that at the end of the day, what really mattered is that I had to do the work and do it myself and not rely on somebody else's coattails or some sort of connection to get me there. And in the last year, over the pandemic, I produced a show for the first time. Granted, it was a Zoom show, but it was, still a chance to actually like work with people and learn to put together lineups and learn about producing and stuff like that, since I had zero experience doing that. And one of the things I realized that as soon as people realize you book a show, they're going to talk to you different. They're going to act like they're entitled to your time, to your space. They're going to think, oh, we're friends. I could just ask you to do this. And one of the things I noticed is that for me, I booked all the people that I wanted to book, regardless of whether, we're good friends or not. It's just, I would want to book the kind of lineups that I'd personally like to see. And I always noticed that the people who were in my DMs bugging the most about it were the people that I might not have asked anyway to begin with. Like, it's just, if you have to ask, you're probably not ready.
Well, I don't know about that. If you have to ask, you're not ready, I have to work on asking more.
Yeah.
So, like, it's something that you have to confidently. I would never discourage someone from asking, but don't act entitled as if you should give me a spot. Like,
You're right. You're right.
It also goes like for like the bigger clubs and stuff, like to get gigs on the road. If you don't send your avails, aka ask, then you'll look over. There's way too many comics to fill those spots, and they're not going to seek you. So it's weird because like that, the mentality does work when you're talking locally.
Sure.
Like local shows for sure. It's like we've got our pool of people where we're like killers, dope. Like hit them up. But when it comes to if I want to hit up the club in Idaho and go back there, it's like I've got to send them my avails or ask them when they've got space. Otherwise I'll easily be looked over.
Okay, so let me ask this, because I am not, like, me personally, I'm not at like 4 years, and I'm not at a place where I would hit up a club in Idaho and be like, hey, I'm ready to feature, because I don't think that I'm a feature. Like, I have a solid 15 minutes. Is it the best 15 minutes? No. But I am confident in my 15 minutes that it's good. And that, so if I got a lesser spot, like 7, I'd be like, oh, groovy. I can do that. I can do a 7-minute guest spot.
And that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do is, like, if you want to be a feature and you want to go on stage and kill 20 to 25, then you need to have minimum 45. Because what if something happens and it derails and you need to go to something else?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't want to be a feature. I just want to be, like, in my mind, I think I'm past a guest spot. I know I need to do that first, but I'm like, okay, I can host shows. Like, I host shows all the time. So I want to do that. So hitting people. So, and this is interesting because I do have friends that tell me you need to ask Suzette. You need to ask people to be in shows. And so Ivy's like, you know, she's asking the people. And I'm not saying like, what about me? But I'm saying like, let's use me as an example. I believe that because I book shows also, and I book the people that I want to work with. I don't really, the people that message me, I'm like, I don't really want to book you. So I just assume the same thing. So, but Jeanette says I should ask that you should not ask. So should I be asking or not?
Well, from what I hear from people who book shows, a lot of men ask. A lot of men ask. They throw out their avails. They say, hey, can I be on it? And a lot of women don't. So I would encourage all women to ask because, you know, we have to get our name out there. If no one's going to come seeking it out, if we don't at least put it out there that we're available.
Yeah, and I feel like it's definitely more of an issue now where a lot of bookers or producers are like, I need to have a woman on this show, or I need a person of color on this show. You know, like I feel like they're always looking for that, and they're not actively seeking it. So if they see you in their inbox, it's like, oh, you know, so it's like, you know.
So, I mean, is that something someone should include? Like, obviously not. But, I mean, like, hey, I've been doing comedy for 4 years. I have a solid 15 minutes. I have a pretty great 7. Also, I'm, you know, this race and this ethnicity and this religion and this gender. Like, that's kind of...
I mean, if you're sending them a clip as well as an email, which should be happening, then they'll see it. You know, like, there's no hiding that I'm a woman of color. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're gonna see the clip. But so I don't need to put in there that I'm a female of color. I don't need to do that. But I do need to put in there how long I've done it, the clubs that I've done that have clout, that, you know, carry weight, and the different cities that I've performed in. You know, I need to let them know that I've performed on the road. I need to let them know that I've, you know, been in big, you know, industries like this, that I've done corporates, that I've done colleges, that I've done this. Like, they need to hear all that stuff because all of that is going to weigh in on when and if they book you.
But I will say that in the beginning, when you're just trying to work on that, when you're doing small sets and open mics and you're trying to cobble together 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, you know, and you're working on a 10-minute coffee shop versus a 10-minute dive bar set, you don't need to be asking for shows then. What you need to be doing is hitting all the mics. And people who are at those mics will see you and ask you for things and book you for things. And that's how you get more experience and more time, because then you start getting the 10, 15-minute spots and you really get really good at that length of time. But in the beginning, you shouldn't be. I don't think we should be asking in the beginning.
No, not at all. Like,
but once you get to the level where you're like, I want to go to these clubs, I want to do these fantastic shows, don't hesitate to throw it out there, you know?
Or when you're that level, you can ask for the guest spots or the spot on your show to the smaller, you know, the smaller shows that are local, you know, stuff like that, you know, and then just work your way up. But like Jeanette said, if you're funny, it's going to be seen. You're not going to hide that.
Yeah, the cool thing about like lineups, and I think the reason also why the booking of like the way that lineups are booked is so important, is because, you know, sometimes a lot of bookers will see, like, if they're on the same lineup as you, they'll see you if they haven't been exposed to you before, and then that'll be the first time they see you. And if you do a good set in front of that person, then that could lead to other sets. And this is something that I've shared with like you know, younger, newer comics. You know, I always tell them, like, even if it's at a mic, you still got to try to do well at the mic, even if you're just working out stuff, because a really good performance, like, seriously, I didn't start getting a ton of work until like certain bookers saw me, you know, at a random mic. And then, you know, even then, like, there's certain showrunners that I know that will only work with people that, you know, that they know, which is understandable. But, you know, they respond less if you actually hit them up directly versus if they see you smash at another show, then they're more likely to invite you to do their show.
I think I'm guilty of being one of those people. When I book a show, I want to work with people, one, that I know. I don't want to book an unknown commodity, at least for my show at Punchline. And I've done other shows before where I'm willing to take a flyer or take a risk or book someone off of someone else's recommendation without checking into it. But when I book my show at Punchline, I just want to know that the person's going to do exactly what I booked them to do. I don't want any guessing, I don't. And that comes from me knowing the person and knowing what they're about and knowing, like, seeing their set. Oh, this person's going to handle it. So on one hand, I'm guilty of being that booker that just books people she knows and works with people she knows. But then on the other hand, as a comedian, I'm like, oh, hi, I don't know what to do. I guess keep going to mics.
Keep going to mics. And like she said, like Ivy said, take every mic seriously. Like I can't tell you how irritated I get when I go to a mic, and who cares if there's 3 people there and it's garbage. You act like a professional. You don't shit on the show.
No,
and
never.
you do your set. Because those 3 people can get that, are there for the show. And if you're going to tell them, oh, well, this is garbage, I don't care anyways, and just like read off of your phone, they're not going to come back to another comedy show. And now you're just hurting every future show because the 3 people who were into it are now like, oh, well, the comedians didn't give a shit.
That's my biggest pet peeve, I think. First of all, you don't know whose first comedy show it is.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're going to be the cause of it being the last comedy show they ever go to. And so, but like Jeanette said, one of my biggest pet peeves, and this is at mics, this is true at mics, and this is true at shows. My biggest pet peeve is when comedians punish the audience that is there.
Oh,
that
yes.
is absolutely pointless. These are the few people that did come. So there's no point in giving them the strict talking to on how upset you are that the audience isn't full. Who gives a fuck? These people are here, so let's do a show and give them what they paid for and not give them the scolding of having these other seats empty. It's the stupidest thing on the planet, and it's a waste of fucking time.
And it's not their problem. It is absolutely not their problem.
I can't agree more. Right. Like I've been at mics and shows like that where they like, oh, like these people didn't come and like you guys came, but like not enough people came. Like, yeah, the people that come can't do anything about it. They don't know the people that didn't come. Why are you making them feel like shit instead of telling jokes and making them laugh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether or not they paid, whether or not they, knew that it was going to be a mic when they walked into that coffee shop. Like, sometimes we bombard people and they're like, oh, this is what's happening. But, regardless, you're there to do a service to the job.
Right.
You should try telling jokes at a drag show. That's not always the easiest. They're
I've
like,
done burlesque. No. Is that the same? The jokes at a burlesque show. No.
It's similar.
I was like, bitch, prove it right now. Let's
it's
Let's
really
see it.
So I've done both. I've done stand up at a drag show and I've done stand up at a burlesque show. And in both cases it's the people in the crowd really don't want to pay attention to like wordplay and nuance and like. And what kills me about saying this is I'm thinking like, oh, but Chelsea would make them laugh still. Like, I know. So I'm just not there yet, I guess. Because in my mind, I'm like, no, they just want to listen to music.
I mean, you also have to, okay, perfect example. Okay, my Benicia show on Friday was a monster. And we all did really, really well. And like everyone had good sets. The audience was eating out of our hands. It was great. And then I had to headline at a biker bar in Dublin yesterday. And they could not get out. Like, comedy could not end soon enough. They didn't care. I mean, there were 9 televisions on around the bar. There were people talking on their phones at the bar. Like, they just didn't care. And I was like, this is the perfect juxtaposition of comedy. Like, you can be on top of the world, absolutely murdering, like ready to email Comedy Central that night. And then 12 hours later, like someone is taking a shit on your shoe while you're trying to tell a punchline. Like, it's just like, Awesome. So
Is
it's
it-
like you have to read the room. I read the room. I knew exactly what I was walking into when I saw how the other comics were going. I was like, well, this changes my tactic. That's for sure. And I berated them. They loved it. I would call someone blatantly just a piece of shit, and they were like, she's a comedic genius. Like, it was like, okay, great. This is gonna be simple. So like you just have to change your tactic, know your room, read your audience, that's just how you do it.
That comes with time.
Well,
And that comes with time, 100%.
something that Jeanette that you said was a 10-minute dive bar is different from a 10-minute. I can't remember what the other
Coffee shop.
coffee
Yeah.
shop. Thank you. Now I've heard both kind of opinions on that. Like your set should be your set. Maybe change your
No.
tags. Maybe your setup a little bit.
No.
No. Okay. Please elaborate.
Well, I mean, okay. If you think your set should be your set no matter what?
No.
No,
I'm
you
agreeing
just you
with
said no
you.
like someone was
Okay,
trying. You said
I
no like
can't
someone was
believe-
trying to give you a child, like an extra child.
No.
No.
I know. See,
I
I'm
have
smart.
too many.
I'm smart. I'm not a mom, but I didn't say like someone's trying to take your child, because then you're like, go for it. I want to drink.
For real. No, but it's a completely different audience. Like there was a night back pre-pandemic in San Jose, where I'm from, where we had a coffee shop across the street, we had a jazz bar, and then down the street we had a biker bar. And I could do 3 different sets, 10-minute sets each. That's 30 minutes I worked on that night. Okay, now I'm not saying that if I had, sometimes I'll talk about having cancer. I'll do like cancer benefit shows. If I have to practice for that show, and I know I haven't been practicing those jokes because it's hard to tell them, I will do those jokes at every single one of those venues.
Okay, so
But
like you're warming up.
I'm probably not going to get the reaction that I could have gotten if I did the clean set at the coffee shop, the dirty ass set at the biker bar, and some sort of family friendly bullshit at the jazz club.
Right.
Like it's just a different venue, and you have to adapt to what it is.
It's true. That's very true. But she did make a good point. If you're like gearing up for something, like if you're going to do a competition and you have to have a 5-minute set ready, it's like, okay, then you'll start asking people for just guest sets. It shows that, you're not expecting to get paid, but you need to practice this 5-minute set. Are you looking for the audience's reaction right now? Sure, of course. But it's not, you're really just kind of try and hone the material that you're working on for that,
Right.
So there's something to doing and that's the thing that I have, like, like there's a lot of SF comedians that just stay in SF, and they won't like venture out. And then it's like, then they've gotten so good at, honing their jokes for this exact early 20s tech single bachelor, like that's who they can do their jokes for. You take them on the road, you know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, we're gonna go to Missouri, and it's like these jokes don't work, and they don't do anything else. And it's like you've got to be able to adapt and make it universal. Like, comedy is universal, but you have to work at it.
That's why I've always felt like it's so important to know scenes outside of your own. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves whenever I work with SF comics, and some comics that we know, it's like every time I bring up a name or whatnot of a person of another scene, the stock response is, oh, I don't know who that is. It's like, okay, you're telling me that you want to be a comedian for a living, but you haven't taken the time to get to know the showrunners, the big players, like people outside of the Bay Area. Go fuck yourself. Like, that's I feel like there's people that are on this trajectory, but they haven't thought any further than county lines. It's like you put those same people in a show in Modesto, for example, they're not going to do well because they've only, like Chelsea said, they've only catered their sense of humor and their references to something that people they're immediately surrounded by will get, but not people that are in a mostly agricultural setting, for example, or people in another state are not going to get.
You don't even have to go to another state. I was in Oakland.
Like Bakersfield, like places like that. Like, if you can't even go there and do comedy, but you swear that you're like some sort of SF hotshot, you got a lot to learn.
No, I was in Oakland at a show with some SF comics, and like that crowd didn't give a fuck about the tech jokes. Like, it was across the bay, and I was like, oh, You just
well, they're
have tech
probably so
jokes.
used to hearing them from so many of them, so it's just kind of like, I mean, there's a lot like COVID jokes now. COVID jokes are kind of hit and miss right now because people are like, yeah, we get it. We came here to not talk about COVID. Can we talk about something? You know what I mean? So it's like, but then there's that weird like line that you're crossing, and it's like, well, we're all still kind of living it, so we got to talk about it for a second, like, but you have to read the room. You have to know.
Yeah, last night I had a hosting set, and so I feel like the job of the host is to figure out for the other comedians what kind of audience it is. So I would start a joke and I would tell the punchline, and if it didn't hit the way I wanted, I'm changing directions.
Right.
I'm going somewhere else. And so my set wasn't as great as I would like it, but I know I did my job. But I had to change directions like 4 times. I was like, oh, okay, that made you sad? All right, let's move on.
I agree, and I even though I don't get booked in a lot of other people's shows, I host my own shows, and I don't mind like going first and taking the bullet and like kind of finding where the boundaries are, not boundaries, but like what's this crowd want to hear about, like what's this crowd want to laugh about. I think I agree with you. I think that is the host job, like a good host. I think there's a lot of job, and I hate, like we were talking about the people that are like, I'm ready to headline. Like I hate that people want to skip being a host because it's so important and it's such a difficult job, and people are just like, oh, it's easy. Like, yeah, it looks easy because the host doing it is good.
In Canada, they actually they look at it differently, and the host is basically what we would consider a feature.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it differently there because they're like they view hosts as higher up because they have to maintain the whole show, and they view it as a higher position. So really, like the middle comic in Canada is like what we would consider the host or the weakest of the lineup, because they know that the host has to carry the whole show. So that was an interesting thing when I first went to Canada to do comedy. I was like, oh, okay, that's different. All right. But it was dope to have such a dynamic, fun, energetic host through the whole show, because it really did just set the energy and just keep that shit going.
There was something else that Ivy, I think you mentioned that I was going to go to. It was right when we were talking about people doing tech jokes. I can't remember though.
I will say though, as much as we're shitting on SF Comics for doing their tech jokes, I have a hard time going to San Francisco and doing my mom jokes.
Right.
So
it's true.
I can't blame them.
It's true. It is give and take. You're absolutely right. It is give and take for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, because I have mom jokes too, and I'm like, I need to pick my battles, because if I'm doing this for a college, they're like, bitch, So it's like, and that just goes back to your joke writing. It's like have a grab bag, have a lot of different topics that you're talking about.
What I find happens to me a lot is I'll tell my jokes, and then the set's almost over, and I do some throw, and like I've not had the best set sometimes, and I'll do some throwaway, corny, cheap, like hack joke, and like the crowd will laugh, and I'm like, oh really? You just wanted stupid?
Oh, it's hard not to get mad at the crowd, huh?
No, I'm not mad at the crowd in that aspect. It's just like
just disappointed.
I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't figure it out faster, honestly. Like, fuck, that's what you wanted to hear? Like, we could have done this the whole time. I didn't know.
Right.
Or when the next person goes on and like they hit it, and you're like, oh, I have a joke I could have told that would have worked. God damn it.
Yeah. No, I never blame the crowd, because it's like, I think maybe, I don't know, I've done a couple hundred sets, and once in all the times I've been to all the shows I've ever been to, once or twice I've seen an actual bad crowd. I think I've seen like poisoned well crowds, like at open mics, where the comic like can go up before you, or a couple comics go up before you, and they're just that's what it was. The responsibility of protecting the art form of stand-up comedy by booking good comedians, like that's something I take super seriously with my show. with both the comedians and the drag queens. I don't want someone to come to my show and say, oh, I gave live comedy a chance and this was like, meh. Or I gave drag a chance and like it's not as good as on TV. Like I don't want that. I don't know. That's
Well,
I think
I can see protecting your show. That's your baby. You don't want your audience to be gone. Right. That makes 100% sense. That's great. However, I also think it's the job, it's a responsibility as veteran comedians and veteran showrunners to help boost up someone every once in a while. Say, hey, I'm going to give them a spot. I'm going to take a chance on this guy, you know, or this girl. And to open up just a little bit to the people who you might not know completely and you might not know where they might go. Because I remember my first guest spot at a big club and they did not need to give me that shot. You know, I remember when a showrunner, I was so new and he let me feature for a major comedian and I was just like blown away and floating for months, you know, and those are the things that it helped inspire me to keep going. And I think that it's important to do that to the community as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I've always, to some degree, like I want to like younger or less experienced comics. It's like, you know, they ask a lot of questions and I'm not the unsolicited advice type, but if they ask me, I will answer. And the ones that have actually listened to what I had to say have actually gone on to do really, really well, which I feel like I don't want to take credit for that at all. It's just more like I feel like I'm paying it forward the way that people helped me when I was younger. Like,
I've had people be like, oh, remember when I helped you do this? And I'm like,
have they said that to you?
Did you come on stage and tell my jokes? Is that what you did?
Have they said that to you? That's fucked up.
No, not you.
Oh.
Someone has.
No, I mean, that's what I mean. Has somebody actually, like, met?
Oh, yeah. Someone tried to claim my success. Oh, remember when I helped you out early?
Oh, that's fucked up.
Like,
that's not cool.
You weren't on stage telling my jokes or living my life that I got those jokes from, so I don't think you can claim it as yourself.
No.
I will say that the same way that Jeanette is talking about, you know, giving, you know, lesser known, I guess, or, you know, just like giving comics a chance. And, you know, I will say, you know, it's like trying a new joke, you know, like, you know, put it between two jokes that you know work just in case, you know, so like make sure that you know your lineup well enough so that you are not screwing your show over, you know, like I did that with a San Francisco comic and I had them come to Benicia. Now, if you don't know Benicia, I'm booking the show because I know my town. Okay. I know my sleepy little town filled with white people, somewhat conservative, you know, but they like to have a good time. It's just that they will show their crazy side at specific times and places, you know, like that's just kind of very, you know, family oriented, but the moms like to go nuts, you know, so that's kind of my town. And this comic went up and did 10 full minutes about her abortion that she had that week. And it was so uncomfortable to listen to. And it was just like, I get it. She was like getting stuff out, pun intended, but it's like, she also like, she had to leave after that because like the whole room was against her, you know? And it was just, it was like, you have to, but thank God, like, I mean, she was my wild card that night, you know? And it's because I knew that this comic had not ventured outside of that area code too much, you know what I mean? So it's like, no, take a gamble, sure, but you have to treat it like that and know that it is a gamble. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, and sandwich it between two people who are great and then can bring it back again in case they bomb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's funny that I know who you're talking about.
Ask a question, Suzette. Let's change the topic, please.
Let's change the topic. Okay, so Chelsea, you've produced and booked a show. Ivy, you've done it now virtually. Jeanette, have you done it?
I did a show back in 2005 to 8 time when I first did a comedy, and it was a lot of stress. Coming back, I didn't produce any shows. I wanted to travel as much as I could with my jokes. You know, hashtag have jokes will travel. And go to as many places I possibly could. So I didn't want to tie myself down with a show. Having said that, in the pandemic, when I was going absolutely bonkers, I started 2 shows. One with Chelsea and Clay Newman and Jordan Cerminara, where we played Pictionary online through Stab Comedy, who we love.
On Wednesday nights.
Yeah, but it's not stand-up, you know? And then I have another show on Thursdays that we're still doing called Prompt Night, where we give comedians 1-word, 2-word prompts, and they kind of make it up on the spot. So it's kind of more improv than it is comedy. But I still book those as if it's a comedy show.
It's so much fun. Oh my God.
They're both really fun. I love them.
So much fun.
So do you think I've heard some comics say, and obviously none of the 3 of you will disagree with this, but I've heard some comics say that comics shouldn't produce. Producers should be separate and they shouldn't do comedy.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think producers who don't understand comedy don't understand the tempo of a show, the way the comics should be, like the energy levels of the show. They just, no, I don't agree.
Nope. Mm-mm.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'll say this. The shows that have comedians producing always go better, in my opinion, than the shows who have producers who are just producers. They might have more audience because they are focused on that, but that doesn't mean that their lineups are better.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is you have to focus on a lot of different things when you're booking a show. How much does the lineup factor in when you're booking a show to you guys? Like how other people play off each other?
Oh my God, I think it's huge.
The most important part.
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest thing with people when they book lineups is a lot of times they don't think of energy levels. And that part drives me insane because people don't realize, like, you know, like the energy of the comics that they are, you know, just completely dishing out, like just from their soul, really will just kind of it'll set the pace for the whole show. You know, and I'm not against comics that are, you know, low energy or, you know, just very monochromatic, just like deadpan. Yeah, there's something very, very charming of that. Is that me? No, you know, and so it's just like you need to, I'm not opposed to booking people like that, but I have to know that it's being counteracted by someone who is high energy, you know, so I feel like, you know, like perfect example, Bay Area comic, a brilliant comedian, Ryan Goodcase, you know, like, but he stands in one place and he has, you know, a very deadpan delivery, but that's his thing, that's his character, that's his shtick, and it so works for him, and I think he's a brilliant comedian. But, you know, I just booked him on a show with Paul Conyers, and it's like, that's great because Paul is, you know, not that, he's a little more animated, and he's like, this is it. So it's like those two balance each other out, you know. So I like looking at the different energy levels. I think that's very important when you're thinking of a lineup.
Okay, so you look at energy levels. Sorry, no, go ahead.
I also think it's important in this day and age to really try to not just be aware, but actively try to book female and people of color comedians.
Yeah,
you know, like, yeah, it's our responsibility. I'm so sick of seeing shows with just one woman on it. Like, there's plenty of women you could book, and if yeah.
Well, I'd like to say something about that because I get really annoyed when I see people complain like, "Oh, it's really hard to do this. Like, it's really hard to book women." No, it's not. I've had shows that I've done with just women. I've had shows I've done with just black comedians. I've had shows I've done with just gay comedians. Like, and I'm not, that makes it seem like I'm doing these really super theme lineups. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's so many comedians out there other than just straight cis white guys. And so many people just book straight cis white guys. And it's like, it's really not that hard to book other like, I don't know. Chelsea was on here once when I had Regina Givens, and Regina's maybe the best comedian in Sacramento. Like, I don't understand why people are like, oh, she's a great woman comedian. Like, no, she's just a great comedian. And you don't need to just book her when you need a woman comedian. You could just book her when you need a comedian.
Yeah, that's a huge pet peeve of mine too. Is you don't have to classify what a good comedian I am. Don't put me in all these columns. Oh, you're a really great comedian for a woman. Oh, you're a really great comedian and you're a mom. That's, it's like for a mom, blah, 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 blah. I did a private show recently with a headliner down in LA. And after the show, an audience member came up and was like, hey, you were really smart to book her. She's a really good opening comedian. And he goes, no, she's a really good comedian. And the headliner like corrected him. And I was like, thanks, buddy. That's just it. You don't have to, you can just say they're a good comic. Yes, you don't realize how condescending just something so simple is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that sometimes it's just pure ignorance. Like, I'm sure it's happened to you three. It's happened to me where I'll host a show and someone comes up after the show and they're like, wow, you should try comedy sometime. And it's like, that's what I did at the start of the show. Like,
no, I've never had someone say that to me.
You've never had that?
If they did, I probably would have slapped them. That's fucking bullshit.
Oh, it not only has it happened to me, I've seen it happen to like really good comedians who just happen to be hosting a show because that's the straw that they picked or whatever. And it's like,
I will say I have had other comics come up to me and like, I'll drop a name here. Our friend Terry Dorsey has a show in San Francisco that we do. And I did his show. He's a very good, he'll get the crowd going, right? He'll get them hyped up. Well, the crowd was not hyped up. And he, before I went up, brought them back up again. He did a story. And I was so appreciative of that. And then I went and did my set and it was so good and I felt so good, right? And then we're all standing outside and this comic comes up to us and says, oh, you really set her up there, huh? Oh. And Terry was like, no, she did well because she's funny. Like, don't give credit to someone else for someone else's. People come up to you after shows and say the most bullshit stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know if it's because they're drunk or they just are socially awkward or they just don't know better.
This is why my preference is for people to just not talk to me after the show. Like, I just don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't talk to me.
There are times in my set where I'll say that. I'm like, people come up to me after shows and say all kinds of crazy things. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't talk to me. Don't say shit to me. Don't come up to me and tell me, oh, I've been told I'm funny. Good job. You can go be funny in the break room of the used car lot that you work at in Antioch, and I can go do my job. Like, don't talk to me. I
love it when people talk to me, actually. Even when I do that joke, I always go, I'm just kidding. Because, like, sometimes that makes my night. Like, I've had a woman who still follows me on social media, and she came up to me after a show, and I happened to be doing the cancer jokes at a bar because I was practicing them. And she came up to me just weeping, and she was like, I'm so glad you did that. I really needed that. And my mom, And like, sometimes when you're doing comedy, you can really touch someone, and you don't realize it until they come up to you and they say, thank you. That really meant a lot. That's just like, I still think of that, and I still heart her little posts, and I still support her because I'm like, that was very nice of her to say to me and to express, and it really impacted me as a comedian as well.
I think it's personal preference, right? Because I've seen comedians and I've seen the same comedian do it different ways. I've seen the same comedian hide from some audiences and want to be out with some audiences. So I think I like talking to audiences if I've had a good show. If I bombed, I'm not really like, let me get out there and talk to them.
They're not going to want to talk to you anyway.
No, exactly. Like,
I had a guy recently after I didn't do great. I was up first, so that's my excuse. But he was like, he like stopped me as I was passing, and he goes, "You're really funny. Don't get down on yourself." I was like, "Oh." I wasn't till just now, but thanks.
So, but
I think there's a wrong way and a right way to go about talking to somebody after the show. Like I'm always appreciative of the, oh, thank you so much, you guys are great, or or Filipino people that are just like, oh, thank you for representing us, or just some shit like that. That's totally cool. That's totally cool. It's when they really want to get into stuff like, oh, I know this person that wants to try comedy. I've always wanted to try comedy. It's like, well, stop right there. Just it's like I feel like people on. I equate it sort of to how I feel about when people that are not comedians want to comment on a comment thread that's all comedians. It's like, why don't you just click like on the post and keep it moving? Like, we don't need all this fucking feedback for no reason, especially when it's not helpful. God, I'm an introvert.
I think what you said, Ivy, was like when they say like, oh, I'm funny, I could do this. That's the thing that kills me. Like, I was at brunch today, right? And Chelsea's been to brunch a lot. And Ivy, you've done my show with drag queens. Jeanette, I don't know how much experience with drag queens you have, but so I do brunch, right? And I'm there and I'm walking around after the show and I'm greeting everybody. And there was a table with mostly women and one guy. And he was like, so how do you get started? Like, how do you do drag? And I was like, oh, there was a show called After Hours, and that's where everybody drag queens. And he was like, I think I'd like to try it. And I was like, oh, it looks easy. And I was just teasing. But then he hit me with this really stupid stat that's kind of irrelevant, but I want to share it with you guys just so I can see Chelsea's face. So let me make sure I pull it up on my screen. He said that he read in the New York Times, and he admitted that this was the whitest thing he could say. He said in the New York Times, he read, because he was straight, the majority of drag queens are straight. And I said, no. No. And now you want to do it? And it looks easy? So I just had to share that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a fine line between encouraging someone to pursue something that you had the courage to do versus telling someone, you know what, it's hard work. I tell people when they try to go into comedy, I just had this conversation the other day. I say, it's a job. You have to treat it like a job. And no one on a job expects you to know what the hell you're doing the first day of your job. But they expect you to show up, they expect you to be professional, and they expect you to listen and try your best. So just do that. Keep going and keep trying, and then we'll see what happens. But I don't think I'd ever be like, oh, you think it's easy? It's not. I'd just be like, well, that's because when I wanted to do it, if someone had told me, oh, does it seem easy, you're not ready to do that, I wouldn't have listened. I wanted to do it. And if they have that drive to do it, then they'll figure that out.
I'm not one to tell people not to get into comedy. Like, I'm not one of those comics who's like, don't do it. No, fine. But you have to understand, this is what I tell people all the time, is you have to understand there's a difference between you being the funniest person at a party when you're filled with friends that all have the shared experiences and you all have these inside jokes and you're the funniest one there, da 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 da. Great, that's awesome. But can you be funny in front of 500 strangers on a Tuesday at 8:15 when you have to be? Like, that's the difference. Is
when you can't say, remember that time?
No. Exactly. Yeah. No. You have to create the remember that time. Like, you have to make it. And that's the difference. You can be circumstantially funny in front of people that know you and love you and respect you and, support you in everything that you do.
Or your work.
You can go to a group of people who are like, I dare you to make me laugh. Go.
Oh.
Because as soon as the three of us step on stage, all 90% of the audience is just like, ugh, this bitch is not going to make me laugh. Without a doubt. There's no way that that's not true. And we have to prove ourselves even more because we're women and because we're people of color.
I've been told as a woman that I've been told this several times, that I'm supposed to, in the beginning, establish who I am, say something very funny right away, and also make sure that the men know that I'm fuckable, but that the women they're with don't think that I'm a threat. Oh, okay. How the fuck do you do that in 10 seconds, right?
I think you just say it like that.
I've heard a lot of those as well. Like the first laugh, I will say, I try to do that just to establish trust. You know,
Right.
like I need them to know that I'm funny right from the get, so they trust me and they listen. You know, and so I try to do that. You know, the other stuff I feel like if you sprinkle it in, it's fine. It comes when it comes. You know, but making them know that you're funny for sure is one of the first things for me.
I think
Yeah.
making them
This
know
is
you're
why I don't
funny.
Like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is why I don't like bringer shows because I mean, I hate bringer shows for obvious reasons, but like I think the biggest thing for me is that it gives young comics like a sense of feeling like they've accomplished something because 20 people that they know have laughed at them in a 20 people that are there to be supportive of them have they'll laugh because and they'll be proud and supportive because this person is in a reputable club. But the reason why it's also just super misleading is because then it gives them like again a false sense that they've accomplished something when the fact is they can tell those same jokes at a bar with people that don't know them and they won't get a response. And then they'll be like, well, what the hell went wrong? Well, what went wrong is that you relied on people that actually support you to be your gauge of whether you're funny or not.
Right. The bringer shows are the club's way of doing exactly what Jeanette said, which is take a chance on a comic, but that's their way of doing it so that they still get, they're not losing anything for it. Right. I had to survive in New York from bringer shows until I made a name for myself. Because in New York, that's what it is. It's go.
My first show ever was a bringer show.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it gave me the my first, like never gone to an open mic before. Bringer show, first one. It gave me that confidence to then go to the open mics. So I get what you're saying, but it helped me. Like that confidence, the support, the knowledge that I could do it, even though it was very biased, it absolutely helped me.
As long as you take that confidence and move forward and realize
right.
that you need to make more people than just your circle laugh, then fine, that's dope. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, going to my first open mic after that, it was like, oh, this is hard.
So you use the bringer show the way that it's meant to be used. But the when new comics have the mentality of look how hilarious I am.
Yeah.
Like book me, and then they fall on their ass because it's like these people don't know you. They didn't grow up with you. So yeah.
I personally did not start inviting like people that I really knew, like my own friends and family or even coworkers. I didn't start inviting them to shows until maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, because at that point I didn't feel like I was ready. And then only when I was really ready did I ask them to start coming to shows, because it's difficult to be like 6 months in and be like, hey, can you support me? But I figured I'm going to wait until I'm actually, this is going to sound jacked up, but this is just sort of how my mind worked at the time. Was I'm going to wait until I feel like I'm worth watching for me to ask my family and friends to like drag their ass up. That's probably because I also, my family and friends are, different. Some people have, they've got more kids, they've got babysitters, they've got other situations. They don't have the freedom to just pick up and go. So for them to actually want to stop and watch me is a big deal. So it's like, I was like, you know what, I'm going to hold off until I feel like this would be worth leaving the house. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also sort of now how I decide my gigs. Is this worth leaving the house?
I don't think that's jacked up to say that. I think
okay.
I think it's a lot of self-awareness, and it's a humility that you have. Like something that I kind of feel a little like, and I was talking with Ty Rivera yesterday, and we talked about you, Chelsea, because we both love you. And this wasn't about it. We just mentioned like, oh, Chelsea's great. But we talked about how hard it is to, when you produce a show, to promote someone else's show. Because like I gotta promote my own show. Like I can't promote this show. And that kind of is like an auxiliary of what you were just saying, Ivy, because like I don't want to ask my friends to go to every show. I don't even want to ask them to go to my show. Like my shows that I produce, I don't count on my friends coming. I always thought that was a mistake. If I need to count on my friends coming, then what am I doing producing a show? Because they're not going to be the only 20, 30 people forever buying tickets to my show. So let me not count on that. And let me not exhaust telling people like, oh, you should come to this show and you should come to that show. Like I got to protect my own show. And that kind of feels jacked up. So I don't know. That just made me think
that you just have to assume that the audience that's coming to your show is not going to be the audience that's coming to any other show. unless it's at the exact same time on the exact same day, you can still promote both, and there's room for both.
So how do you put priority over your own show when you need to fill the seats for your show compared to someone that books you?
I mean, that's why I don't produce in-person shows. Like I said, before when I did it, the anxiety of, oh my God, what if nobody comes is so hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I had that show, I didn't invite my friends and family. I just said, hey, this is what I'm doing in my life. If you want to come and support that, absolutely fantastic. And I've never asked anybody to come to shows. It's more like they see it and they're like, hey, we're coming.
Mm-hmm.
You promote what you can, you put it out there, what you're doing, and don't think that you're competing with the other show. Like if you're
product, people will go. You know what I mean? Like it's like, that's basically it. You have a good product, stand behind it. Make sure that it's something that people want to commit to. That's it.
So, Ivy, do you think you're going to produce a show in person now that you've done it online?
That is actually something that me and my producing partner are working on. So I think we're aiming for next month to produce a live show. It should be interesting. We just locked down a venue, and I'm pretty excited about getting the wheels in motion.
Okay. And Chelsea, you've been producing shows as long as I've known you. So you're doing both. You're producing your own show and you're out there snagging up all the bookings you can.
Yes, that's true. Was
So
there a question there that I missed? What happened?
No.
Okay.
I just like to say mildly dumb things towards you sometimes. Because that's where my comedy comes from. It comes from just setting you, like not setting you up, but it comes from being an idiot and letting you make fun of me.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. Yes.
So I guess most similarly, then I would want to ask you, because Jeanette doesn't produce in person. Ivy just started, but that's always been my bread and butter. Is producing live shows, and now I want to do other people's shows. So how do I prioritize promoting other people's shows compared to my own?
I mean, if they have a flyer, post the flyer. If anything other than that, it's not your responsibility.
No.
You're not responsible for bringing an audience to that show. But I do think that it's kind of shitty when comics don't at least post the flyer. Just if someone's in that neighborhood and they know you, they're going to come. Why not post it?
Right. Or if I'm doing comedy in Sacramento and I have SAC friends who aren't comics, dope. I'll shoot it to them in Messenger and just be like, hey, this is happening. Like, I can't do much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I share the information, great. If they show up, dope. If they don't, that's not on me. I shared the flyer. I don't know what else to do. When it comes to balancing promoting your show, promoting someone else's show, I promote anything that I can. Like Miles Weber just started. He wants to start he has a GoFundMe for a nonprofit, and that has nothing to do with me. But I shared it this morning, because it's like that's his thing. So but when it comes to producing your show and being on shows, it's like that's simple, just schedule making. That's all it is, so I know when my show is being produced. Okay, so if something big comes up, I have to now weigh it out. So now I can't stop my show from being produced. So is it worth me getting a guest host so that I can go do this? Or do I say no to this one, ask for a future date, and then it's all just balance. It's a balancing act. That's all it is.
And communication is super important.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I echoing? Okay, just kidding. I thought I heard myself echoing.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Oh.
I heard it.
I don't. Maybe it's the internet connection. I mumbled something. Maybe you heard me. I don't know. Anyhow, I don't want to. I know, Jeanette, you're in a show tonight.
San Francisco Punchline. What?
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I'm so excited about it.
It's the showcase. It's a big deal. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
And Chelsea, you're going.
I am. I'm gonna bring my Go Jeanette sign that I made out of felt and feathers and just.
You better not have any signage. I swear to God.
Don't see.
Is it your first time in the showcase, Jeanette?
No, it's my first time back since pandemic in the showcase, but no, I've done it a handful of times.
Okay, cool. That's exciting still. I don't want to hang on to you guys too late, so I can let you go. Or Jeanette, I always ask.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I miss you, Chelsea. Jeanette, I always ask my guests rapid fire questions. Do you wanna answer?
1 second, let me plug in my laptop.
Okay.
She did this with her laptop unplugged.
I know.
Okay.
I'm always weirded out when people start this show and they're like, "Oh, my laptop's not plugged in." I'm like, "You're an animal."
Sorry,
crazy-
I didn't even know it wasn't until it popped up. Your battery's low, and I looked over, and it's not in the damn thing. Okay, wait, go ahead.
So I always ask rapid fire
go.
questions. Okay, cool. Here we go. And Ivy, Chelsea, you guys can jump into an answer if you want.
Of course.
Do you put your bra on and like clasp it in front and spin it, or do you put it on with weird arms in the back?
Who does that? That sounds like a shoulder issue. Why would you do that?
I do that.
Chelsea does that.
Yep.
Chelsea's
my
one
tits
of.
are massive. I cannot put my bra on backwards and then flip them around. I'll rip a tit off and it'll
You
land.
don't do it while the bra is up and turn. The bra's down.
I'm so good, dude. I do so many shoulder.
Yeah, but you're gonna lose a socket of your shoulder one day. Like
I'm strong as fuck, girl. That's jealousy out of your mouth. That's jealousy.
I am not jealous that you're putting your bra on wrong.
As soon as you said who does that, I was like, Chelsea. She's one of 2 people I've ever asked.
The worst. Like no, I clasp and flip.
Yes.
Go, Ivy. Go. Oh, she's dying. Hold on.
Sorry, what?
Clasp and flip or weirdo like Chelsea?
I clasp and flip.
Okay. No. How high is too high for high heels?
I've tried it before, but I can never get it in the right hole.
See, that's your problem. That's what. See, Jeanette. See. I get it in holes all the time. Brilliant. Right here.
Well done. Let's put that on a shirt. Thank you.
I'll wear it.
More merch. All
right. What was that about being high?
Right. How high is too high for high heels?
Oh God. Like wearing high heels is like my workout. I'm like, do I really want to like balance all night? No, I'm good. I don't know.
Any high is too high.
I haven't worn heels in a very long time, and when I do, they're pretty small now. You know, like I've had lots of babies go through this body, and it messed up my equilibrium. Like there's spots that flop now that didn't flop before, and so it like messes up your center of gravity. And I have worn heels
if you put your bra on the right way, they won't be flopping. I'm just saying.
If only it was the boobs that were flopping.
True.
Well, she didn't say where you should put the bra on. Like, you can put the bra anywhere that flops.
Hey, I could use some support in other areas. I get you.
I don't know if you're going to spin it or if you're just going to apply it directly to that area, but okay.
I mean, do you wear heels? I've never seen you in heels in my life.
Yeah, I've worn heels. I've worn them at like weddings and, you know, like when I go on like first dates with people that I'm actually eventually going to fuck. I've worn heels, but those heels are usually like, you know, 3 inches at most, or they're like heels on like ankle boots, you know, like never like stilettos. Like before Jacob was born, I used to run around in 4-inch heels all the time, and then I had a baby and my feet swelled up for life, so no more heels.
Right. I think the highest heel I ever had was 6 inches, and I did that for like an event, like in New York, like it was like a premiere or something like that, and I was like, and then like now it's like 3, 4, but like wedges are like my fucking fave. Like those are like I feel secure in them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
These are my highest. I got these cuties.
Ooh.
Oh, heck, all right.
And those.
See?
Wow.
I have fallen in these.
I don't doubt that at all.
You mix.
I can visualize that in my head 100% right now.
You mix whiskey
But
and
I
wine.
have rocked those shoes at a wedding, the black ones.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, and I danced every song. Okay.
I am not shocked at all that you've fallen in those. You mix whiskey and wine. You make dangerous choices.
I wore 4-inch heels.
Listen, we're not here to shame people for their choices in life, all right?
Oh,
Okay.
I shame Suzette on a daily basis.
You do. I wore 4-inch heels to Cedric Drake's wedding, and then at the end of the night, I was down to wearing like Adidas slides. Like they're just, there's a part of my life that I have to accept is over, and that's wearing anything.
Yes,
important to look at.
absolutely. Yep.
And that's cool.
Do any of you
Yeah,
wear
those black
wigs?
heels I wore to a Vegas wedding, and then we went to a comedy show after, and then we went gambling,
Bro.
and then I have never worn them since.
They're dead. Throw them away.
They're dead.
Retired.
Clothing swaps.
If I tried to put them on, my feet would go, "What the fuck is wrong with you, bitch?"
We're like, no, we're done.
Do any of you wear wigs ever?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Do you name your wigs?
No, I'm not weird.
You do put your bra on backwards, so let's.
Yeah, we'll shame that. That is weird.
I put it on the right way. It's never backwards. That's the thing. I
You put it on the way that people put it on in movies. Like,
Yeah.
that's not real.
Oh, I know. I'm like a celebrity. Say it again.
He's famous.
You're doing it as if you're fictional. It's not right.
Oh, no, it sounded better the other time you said it.
Do you start all your numbers with 555 too?
Chelsea, what's your favorite color wig?
I like being platinum blonde, actually.
Oh, I see.
I
We're
don't
all.
know that.
I see
Wear
where-
that tonight.
No.
Fuck the sign. Bring the wig.
I see where all the hate is.
You're wearing your wig.
Yeah, I see where all the hate comes from now. I
I
understand.
love being like a blonde because it's like so different. It's like bitch. Like if I'm gonna wear a wig, it's gonna be obviously a wig. You know what I mean? Like I have a hot pink one. I have a rainbow one. It's like it's obvious. I'm not trying to put on a wig where it's like, look, I straightened my hair. No. It's clearly a fucking wig.
Yeah.
What is your favorite show or venue to perform in?
San Francisco Punchline. Be there tonight at 8:00. No, but you know what? Actually, truthfully, the first time I ever did a sold out San Jose improv show where the bottom and the top is filled, the audience laughter hit me in such a way that I literally stepped back because it felt like a wave. And I have been chasing that feeling ever since. And I just love that venue.
That's awesome.
I love that venue for that reason.
That's
They
so
gave me my first big like comedy wave of laughter that I felt the energy.
Mhm.
So they'll always have a place in my heart for that.
I've never been. I'd actually like to do a show there and be there. Do you guys have a favorite recurring show to perform in?
Chelsea Bearce's show. It's so good. Benicia just loves me and my white mom jokes.
I can't wait to come back.
And then I hit them with "I'm a Mexican," and they're like, "What? You were so funny." No, I'm kidding.
I don't speak in Spanish.
No, they were so good. I love them. And then when you have like someone like Chelsea, who's a great producer, who's a good friend, it doesn't feel like you're going to work. Like it took me 2 hours to get there. I didn't care. I would do it again because it's like, it was such a good hang, you know?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And that's another reason why I like when comics are producers too, because they understand the ins and the outs, the on stage, backstage. They understand the whole workings of a show as opposed to just looking at it from a producer standpoint, because I wanted to not only do I want to make sure that the audience has a phenomenal time, but it's really important to me that I pay my comics what they deserve, but that my comics also feel welcome. So that's a huge thing. And I want, every time I produce a show, every single one of those boxes has to be checked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. I just talked with a younger comic, and I told them I have a bank account that's just set up for when I produce shows, and there's always enough money to pay the performers. No matter what happens at the show, at least I can pay people at the end of the night. I can lose money, I can make money, but everyone's getting paid.
Yeah, this actually to mimic that, like this show that I did was the very first one back in Benicia since the pandemic, and it was a free show because I wanted to ensure that we had an audience. But to ensure that we got enough tips, I went above and beyond and made baked goods through my cake company to raffle off, and so the raffle money ended up counterbalancing that, like the tip money, and we ended up making kind of triple what I thought we were going to make, and it blew my mind. So it's just like, so but that was my idea as a producer. How can I make sure? How can I guarantee that we will get money in? And it's like, let me make these baked goods, let me raffle them off, because then people are not only tipping the comics to show love, but they're tipping the comics because they might win something, you know?
Well, you're very smart, so
yeah.
Well done.
That was so smart.
It was annoying as fuck, but it was very smart.
Only one of you is performing tonight, but what is your walk-up music tonight, and what would it be if you were performing tonight?
I have a joke where I name my 4 kids. Oops, oh, what the fucking, are you kidding me? So recently I've been doing Savage by Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce remix, because then I get to call them Savage, classy, bougie, ratchet. I love that joke so much. So I do that song. But I've also walked up to Man Eater before.
Which one? The old school one or Nelly Furtado?
Hall & Oates?
Hall & Oates, yeah.
That's right.
And then I try to do women. I try to do women songs. So I forget the name, but I like to do some, if it's a woman or a song about being a man eater, some sort of women power. That's my song.
Spice Girls. A lot of
like murder. Yeah. Just like totally.
Just I might shoot you kind of stuff.
My go-to right now is Lip Gloss by Lil Mama. It's just the beat is so fun. But for a long time, I was walking up to Fergalicious. Same reason. Like I like really high energy, but super old. That like, oh, I remember that song. Like that's my song. Those are my songs.
I think I've seen you walk up to both. What about you, Ivy?
My walk-up music is like lately I've been doing the when the beat drops, that part in Missy Elliott's Past That Dutch, because it's the same one that they use for when the plastics start walking out in Mean Girls.
Yeah.
It's such a good, there was a point where I wanted to produce a Mean Girls comedy show. I just don't know if it would be too mean coming from me, but I love that song. And then the other one that I walk up to is The Roots, Here I Come.
Okay, wait, time out. What is a Mean Girls comedy show? Because I'm used to themed drag shows, but not comedy shows.
I mean, I would want to make a poster of like the movie Mean Girls, but I would superimpose the comedian's face. It would be a woman's show, obviously. But how fun would it be to have one guy on there and put him on Lindsay Lohan's body?
I don't want to hold I don't want to hold Jeanette too long. I know she has to go. So we can wrap right there. There are more rapid fire questions, but hopefully you guys will be here in person one day. We'll get you to go to brunch, and then you'll come in, and we'll pick up where we left off.
Boom. Yeah. And that time you can ask the questions rapidly.
You know what? They're rapid fire, but I can't stop people from answering long. I'm going to let you do what you do. That's not my job. I do my job. I ask them quick. I'm just polite and wait my turn.
Thank you. I don't wish I didn't have a show to go to. I'm really excited.
No, I'm glad you do.
So
go.
I gotta go.
Congratulations. Go to your show. Kill it. Knock them dead. Break a leg.
Thank
whatever
you
like to hear.
Suzette.
Thank you for being here.
Kill it, boo.
Jeanette Marin, everybody. Chelsea, Ivy, I won't hold you guys. I just want to say thank you to you guys also for being here. You're two of my favorite people, and I can't wait to see you guys in person.
Yay!
Ooh.
I can't wait to see you in person, but yeah.
Okay, but I have cool friends that you like.
Yeah, that's true. I really like Apple. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I know. Ivy, I'm such a bitch. It's fine.
Well, Ivy's nice to me, so.
Ivy's nice. Yeah, see, it's balance, counterbalance.
There you go.
You got me.
It's even.
It's great. It's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, well.
You have another show. You have a show tonight too, right, Suzette? Hype it right now. Go.
I do. I'm hosting the Sunday Showcase at Badlands. It's the Sunday night drag show every week, and it's my first time hosting that, so I'm excited.
Energy, energy, energy. I'm not gonna say it again.
No, there'll be energy. It's hard to have energy with the web camera, but there'll be a lot of energy in person.
I've seen you in person, bitch. I'm speaking from experience. You better keep your fucking energy up, okay?
I've worked on it. I'm
gonna text Taryn and I'm gonna check on you. You better keep your energy up.
Do
okay?
it. Yeah, I'm doing it, and I'm practicing my energy for August 22nd when I have my next show at Punchline. So
very good plug. Look at that. Very good.
I know what I'm doing. I'm kind of professional. Anyhow, your information is below you. People can follow you. They can send you tips. No one ever sends anybody tips, but hey, send these women some tips. Send these comics some tips. Send these amazing people some tips. Follow them. Go see them in shows. When can we see you? I'll let you go after this. When can people find you next, in person or online or both?
Oh, God. I don't know. I have to look at my calendar.
I know. Shit. Let me see.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wish I was that booked.
I'm on Who Wrote This Shit tomorrow. My game show's on tomorrow. Who Wrote This Shit? 6 p.m. Pacific.
Who do you got?
Every Monday. Who wrote this shit? What?
Who's on your show this week?
Tomorrow we have me, Robbie Sandler, Miles Weber, Matt Gubser, and Jarrett Hill.
Okay. And people can check that out.
A very good show. Tomorrow we're celebrating Miles Weber being a permanent, like having a Who Wrote This Shit residency, basically.
Oh, well, congratulations to Miles. You said he doesn't watch. Heather does. So, Heather, if you're watching, tell Miles congratulations from the Suzette
true.
Show.
And then the day after that, I'm at Sally Tomatoes. Oh, my God, I forgot about that. I'm at Sally Tomatoes on Tuesday, July 20th. And then Friday, I'm in Lodi. And then Saturday, me and Miles are at Lucky Penny in Napa. And then, on next Sunday, I'm in Sacramento. I'm doing comedy with Katie Carnes.
Okay.
I'll be in Sacramento, bitch.
On the 25th?
25th.
Oh, well, I'll maybe see you for, I don't know, a little bit.
All right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Ivy, what about you?
So I'm isolating all this week because some dumbass I know didn't get vaccinated. But I'm okay, by the way. Negative COVID test. That shit is in my Instagram stories at Aivy Cordova.
She did.
I did post it. I posted that shit just for posterity. But after that, I am hosting on the 27th. I am hosting a viewing party for a documentary called Pundemic. It was a documentary about people that were working working as comics during the pandemic, and it's an awesome film. It has a lot of SF comics. A lot of SF and LA comics. That's happening at Milk Bar on the 27th. On the 28th, I'll be in Santa Cruz, closing out a show at Santa Cruz Mountain Brewery, some shit. And then on 20th,
I've been there. That's a good show.
It's a fun show. I'm super excited. And then on 29th, I am doing Nightlife on Mars, which is back at their live show in, I think it's a place called Amato. And then the next day, I am taking my son to Disneyland. Okay,
cool. You won the Super Bowl with all those shows, and you're going to Disneyland. and Jeanette message.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Jeanette's. Go ahead. I forgot you're on. Go ahead.
Okay. Jeanette messaged, and she's actually here in Sacramento on Wednesday at the Sac Punch, the showcase, the monthly showcase here. So if anyone wants to check her out in person, hit her up. Her information was below her guest list. If you want to be on her guest list, let her know.
And she's at Sally Tomatoes with me on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, people should just go to Sally Tomatoes to see you. They shouldn't need both of you.
But they
get both of you, yes. But just, I mean, yeah, they should just go to all the things you guys mentioned, regardless of who else is in it.
This show should end now.
Yeah, we're ending.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chelsea Bearce, Aivy Cordova, two of my favorite people. And we'll end the show quickly because I have to go. So I will bring him on if he's going to be brief, and he promises me he will be brief. So he's also a comic, I guess, and a producer, I guess. But here we go. Hi, David. How are you? David Shapiro.
Hey, Suzette.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Let me adjust. A little different setup today. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Not going to take up much time.
You cannot.
Just wanted to say congrats. I saw you have another show at Punchline
And I just
on August
mentioned it.
22nd.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
once again,
Yes.
could I be in your show on August 22nd?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I explained
Thought you
earlier.
would say that. And so to that, I say, I have a show there on August 18th. Well, not my show, but it's like the Punchline Showcase. And it's
Oh,
on
the
August
monthly-
18th,
yeah, I
and
just
I will be
mentioned it,
hosting
monthly.
that.
Oh, you are.
And I wanted to say, would you like to be in that show?
I don't know.
Well, you can't.
Oh.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
because I don't get to be in yours, so you don't get to be. Actually, you know what? I'd let you be in mine. Are you free that day?
I don't know. I'd have to check.
Well,
but
I tried. I extended an olive branch here, and it wasn't extended back. So, yeah. Anyhow, I know you got to get going.
I do.
So I'm gonna just keep it brief and with that. And what? That's like the shortest segment you've ever had. We're under 2
talking
minutes
about
here.
it doesn't make it
So,
shorter. Though,
good luck
about it makes
tonight.
it longer.
And good luck on August 22nd.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Good luck to you on August 18th.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay, that's the show, everybody. So thank you to Jeanette Marin. Thank you to Chelsea Bearce. Thank you to Aivy Cordova. Thank you to Jesse. Thank you to Stab. Thank you to David Shapiro, I guess. I don't know what that was. We'll be back next week on the 25th of July with Sacramento comedian, screenwriter, and I don't know, weed advocate, Bill Wallace. So tune in 5:03 on the 25th. We'll see you then.
The city's your playground. I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah.